In this episode of CSI Animal, we are going to get a clearer picture of the place that Sachin alleged to have taken Dolly to be seen by a very experienced vet who had operated on Dolly. All thanks to a good teammate in this scam. There is a saying that it really rings very true here. Finally, of course, everything I have been saying in this series of CSI is my opinion, but based on a body of fact, easily verifiable even if you don't have a medical background. By the way, I am merely pointing out the numerous inconsistencies, to put it lightly, if not outright lies, in their very own videos that do not agree with what they allege to have happened. This form of evidence is the most admissible in any court of law. Because nothing could be more authentic than what a defendant did record in his videos, his own very word and actions in real time the very day that something he alleged to have happened, and showed us the evidence. Nothing could come more authentic than this.
Son, because I did it.
Lastly, the purpose of my video is not to hurt or to gloat, though you could sense my increasing sarcasm and impatience in my tone, as I really think I could have done more to stop such scam from repeating itself again and again. If your feelings have been hurt, it just shows that you are a good person with your heart in the right place. You just let your heart take over your judgment and cloud what you actually see. In all honesty, the world is a better place with more people who are empathetic and care about animals. We are all here because we love these animals, and we are all divided here because of what have happened to them at the hands of another primates, often cruel and selfish. As the great writer Franz Kafka has said, "Are you ready? Let's roll." First of all, I would like to thank you, one viewer Dogmum, for pointing out a mistake in my video. I did indeed misread a bottle labeled YC-prazole as YC-prazole with a E at the end, and so erroneously identified it as a proton pump inhibitor to treat peptic ulcers and other ailments in humans associated with over or inappropriate secretion of acid in the stomach. In fact, it should read as YC-prazole and should have been correctly identified as metronidazole instead, a very common antibiotics for human use, and to a lesser extent for animal use, as it has never been approved by FDA for such purposes, but most vets would prescribe it for dogs, cats and horses anyway. But in its intravenous form, it is rarely indicated for veterinary uses like lansoprazole. They are well absorbed via the oral route, and it is unnecessary and often hazardous to administer such medication intravenously when it could work just as effectively via the oral route in an animal. IV metronidazole, however, is called for in Cambodia for the treatment of chronic refractory diarrhea caused by the gut parasite Giardia in malnourished children there. The disease, giardiasis, is an endemic parasitic gut infection among many children aged between 1 to 5 in Cambodia. For these children with such a refractory infection, gut absorption could be unreliable, and so an intravenous route of delivering the antibiotic is often preferred, probably in combination with other anti-giardial antibiotics. So thanks to Dogmum for spotting an error in my video. I am now more than certain that this is indeed a treatment or prep room in a hospital, and coupled with the knowledge that it was IV metronidazole that had been used on someone there, most likely a child, I could now narrow the filming location of this setup in either of these two hospitals in Siem Reap. These two hospitals are both charitably funded pediatric hospital, providing free intensive, surgical and general medical care to children in Siem Reap and the surrounding region. Access is relatively unrestricted, and pay there for many auxiliary staff like radiographers and porters is likely just adequate, a living wage above average only. It is unlikely that their wage is comparable to those working in the many new shiny private hospitals in Siem Reap. These auxiliary staff could be more amenable to other business suggestion, especially from a friend they know. So the very thing that the late Dr. Richner thought he had stamped out is slowly creeping back in. If not in his hospital, it is happening in another. Resources like IV drip, X-ray cassettes that should have been reserved for patient use have now been misappropriated for private gain. Not to mention that those who have colluded from within are doing so putting patients, especially children, at risks of non-human primate infections. I am going to briefly touch upon the latest saga with Lola that many of you have sent links of those videos for me to examine. So this is the new vet clinic that these cameramen have talked us into believing that have just recently opened up in town, equipped with an X-ray facility and a proper vet. Except this place is neither new nor is it a clinic at all. It is just a pet store with some basic veterinary service like vaccination. In fact, it hasn't won much praise either from its patrons. But they do have a nice big billboard with cute pictures of kittens on it and symbols depicting the service they offer too. I'll give them for that. So according to their website, the most they could do is vaccination and dressing up and treating simple wounds. And in fact they didn't seem to be welcomed at all there. It seems that the owner just wanted them to leave, so to speak. Anyway, our heroes had to wait for 5 hours at this not-so-new clinic, if they actually had indeed, for a vet from the future. As we know, the first local vet won't be available until 2021 at the earliest. Anyway, suddenly the scene had her entire makeover. We are shown now into somewhere more professionally looking. A hospital, so it does seem. So is this the vet or not? I do believe they had waited for 5 hours. For it would then be nearly 7 o'clock, early in the evening, since they took Lola to the pet store at around 1:40 in the afternoon as stated in their video earlier. A convenient time for someone working in the X-ray department to do some extra contractual work. Oh yeah, it's a fracture. Thank you very much. They probably made her arm hurt more after pinning her down to hold it out for an unnecessary X-ray. All this trouble for a wound that any monkey will heal in no time at all. So another monkey has been unnecessarily kidnapped from where it belongs to with its own kind and put into a cage at Sochin's production studio. So that studio, under the cover of a NGO that had gone belly up for at least 5 years, has been raided by officials on Christmas Day, and all captive monkeys held illegally and unprofessionally there have been confiscated. Had that person left Lola in the wild nursing a wound that she is well capable of healing herself, he would still have left with an animal to film for many months and rake it in with ad money. His selfish act has backfired on him and has put an uncertain future on this animal. I think one dedicated viewer has counted 53 deaths or missing so far since Brutus' death from poison last year. This is just way too high for any monkeys living in the wild, especially these monkeys are living in the rich and safe grounds of Angkor, with almost all big predators hunted to extinction in the 80s. So what could we do to prevent a repeat of all these staged injuries and fake rescue missions that some of these channel owners will not voluntarily give up despite having been repeatedly exposed again and again of their cruel antics? Unsubscribing and not watching isn't going to help these animals a single bit, as we have seen so far. In the meantime, the most urgent thing we have to do is to contact the 2 charitable hospitals, which rely on foreign donations to operate, to inform that there is a real possibility that the facilities have been misused and resources have been misappropriated at least on 3 different occasions recently, and more importantly to inform the authority that patients and healthcare professionals could be at risk of cross-infection. Quoting these 3 videos as evidence. As Dr. Johansson, who owns the only true vet clinic in Siem Reap with X-ray facility, has never been involved. I am now pretty sure that the place that Sochin had taken Dolly to, where he alleged that a vet had taken some X-rays and operated upon Dolly, is also the locally renowned pet store. Just look at the logo. So a pet store has now a X-ray facility and an operating theater on site, as well as a fully trained primate vet on call all of a sudden. This must surely have been an act of God, and convenient too. In the long run, what should we do to help these animals and prevent this from ever happening again? Do we have to form user group and to hold YouTube ultimately responsible? By the way, please do not just listen to me. Do your own research if you are in doubt. Moreover, you can't just listen to someone whose ID has changed over time according to the pro-Cambodian camp. I was once called a jealous man from Hong Kong, which they then changed it to a woman, as they said only a woman could be that jealous. Some said I was actually a Cambodian and I was the one poisoning all the monkeys there. The latest twist was either I am a fellow viewer, a Canadian chap called Brad, or I am actually a Chinese Malaysian chef who hates Cambodia. The latter I found most amusing, for they apparently got that tip off from their most trusted and respected source, hailed from Siem Reap in Cambodia. Give me a break, this chap has at least 3 different Facebook accounts, all having different profiles. If they are all to be trusted, he currently lives in Florida, but had once studied in Texas, but is now directing monkey drama in Siem Reap for his job. Your choice, your pick. Thank you.